Welcome, fellow travelers. It's Mickey Gold. So today I want to talk to you about when to push forward and when to let go. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience and what I'm coming up with for myself. Now, this started with 4 square breath. Now, I am certified as someone who can teach pranayama or breath work. I'm a certified yoga instructor. I'm a certified personal trainer. I'm a certified Pilates reformer and mat reformer. I'm certified as a life coach, a Reiki, well, it's not certified, but, hypnotherapist, NLP, lots of different things. When I get interested in things, I tend to go get a certification. And sometimes I never use it. Like, for instance, I'm certified to teach kettlebells or train with kettlebells. And very rarely do I use them with clients. And the same with reformer. I don't generally use the reformer with people. I might use a ball and kind of mimic the reformer. However, and the same with TRX. I use a TRX myself. However, I very rarely use it with clients. And the same with breath work. There's certain breath work that is just not good for everybody. Not everything fits everybody. And there's certain breath work that, like for instance, the 4-7-8, I have no problem giving that to anybody. However, there's certain breath work that if you have high blood pressure, if you have certain things going on with you, you should not be doing this breath work. And then also sometimes with breath work, one of the things I've had clients who had asthma, and focusing too much on the breath can trigger them. And when I teach yoga, for instance, a lot of times I ask people to play with the breath. So for certain moves, I'll say, try inhaling when you go into this part and exhale when you go in that part, and then reverse it and see what works best for you. And you might notice too, like when I do hypnosis or I do meditation with you guys, that I say sit, lie down, whatever. However, a lot of teachers of meditation that I have taken from have specific, like, do not lie down ever, and you must sit like this, and this, and this, and this. And if, for instance, if you do Yoga Nidra, there's a specific way they want you to hold your body, and you're not supposed to fall asleep. However, Yoga Nidra is really easy to, not often. But generally, I don't, it doesn't matter to me, because in my mind, it's about whatever gets you to meditate and however you want to meditate, and that there's no right, there's no wrong. It's as simple, like I said, as if you can count to 10, inhaling 1, exhaling 2, and going to 10 and doing it again. It's whatever you want. Now, I do a lot of people's meditations. I try out bunches of different meditations. So sometimes I don't always have a single practice for myself. When I do meditation for myself, it's usually candle gazing or counting the breath or just sitting and breathing. But generally, I am actually playing around with, like, I'll be taking some sort of course or learning something, and I'll be dealing, if I'm getting initiated into something, there's a lot of times a meditation that goes along with that. You do it for a couple months or whatever that I follow. Now, I've gone and I've gotten initiated, I've gotten certified in things and never used them. Like, for instance, not everybody who sells oils is certified in oils. Now, for instance, if you go to Young Living or doTERRA, they teach you a little bit and send you on your way, and you can send it off to them and teach them how to mix oils, or you can just buy a book and it will tell you. However, I took a certification because the personal trainer in me wanted to know what things you don't do and you do, which is great because of the fact that, for instance, I learned, like, citrus oils, do not put them in skincare. Don't mix them with oils and rub them on their skin and go out in the sun, because they're phototoxic, meaning it will burn your skin if you put citrus oil. There's a lot of people out there selling oils that do not know this simple fact. I've talked to more than my share of people who they make their living selling oils and they don't know this simple fact. Also, the other reason I generally don't do oils is because, for instance, if you're allergic to a certain sort of flower, there's a group that flower may belong to, and I don't want to have to hold the responsibility of, if you put this on your skin, it might break it out. Now, I know enough to say, hey, you might want to try this, or there's certain oils that I trust that, of course, you could be allergic to anything. I mean, if there's something out there, someone could be allergic to it. However, there's ones that I feel are totally safe, like, for instance, myrrh oil. You can directly apply myrrh oil to your skin without putting it in a base, because normally you dilute oils and you put it in a base, and the same with lavender. You can put it directly on the skin without diluting it. And there's certain oils you can take orally, but generally when I talk to people, I'm like, buy food grade, buy actual, like, if you're going to use oil of oregano, buy not the essential oils oregano, but actually buy liquid drops that are meant specifically for a supplement, is what I usually tell people if asked. And like I said, it's some things I'll just use little pieces of when I'm working with someone. If I'm training, I might give you an antidotal type of thing. Like, for instance, if I'm doing regular personal training with you and you're having trouble sleeping or this and that, I might give you some breath work you can do. Or if you're stressed out, I might give you some breath work you can do. But it's not necessarily, I don't do an hour-long session on breath work. The same thing with EFT, which is the tapping technique. I'm certified in that. However, I don't spend an hour with tapping or NLP, for instance. I like NLP. It has some good techniques. However, and then the other thing is, I would be bored. I would be bored doing an hour of NLP. You know, it's not, I like little bits and pieces. So I generally take bits and pieces of things. So I don't necessarily always think you should, if you get into something, if you start studying something, try stuff out. Take little courses. There's this place online called Udemy, and they have courses, if you wait for a sale, for $9.99. So for instance, I thought I would like to, what was the name of it? There was a certain thing that I thought, I want to do this. This is what I want to do this is my thing. And I took this course and realized, so not my thing. I didn't realize it was just this, and this is what, you know, because you hear certain things and you think, oh, that sounds cool. I want to do that healing modality, or I want to do this or that. And then you find out, like, for instance, I can't remember what it is now. And I should just leave it alone. However, they did a lot of Brock's Flower Remedy, and I'm not really, I mean, I know it works for some people because that rescue remedy, for some people, that's a lifesaver. However, for me, it doesn't work really well with my system. I haven't had a really great experience with it. I have some sensitivity, so I have to be careful of what I put in my body, and I generally find that for instance, for me, rescue remedy just will knock me the heck out, which is good sometimes. I mean, if you're totally freaked out and you got to get to that point, but you know, Benadryl works just as well for me. So, but anyways, back to the story at hand. So the 4 square breath is what I have found recently as a tripping up point for me. So the 4 square breath is breathing in for 4, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, and then holding. Now, in my mind, when I think of a square, I think of very straight lines and very militant kind of. So for me, when I teach breathing, for instance, when I'm doing, for instance, final relaxation at the end of a yoga class, I will say, you know, let the rise and fall of the belly like a wave, like you're floating it, you're, you know, letting it go. Now, for me, 4 is very like, when I was starting to do this, what I noticed, because I was like, why is this not working for me? Because the reason why I'm focusing on the 4 square breath is I'm starting a new study that I'm interested in that I might tell you guys after I get going about it. Yay. I'm going to give it like 6 months and then I might be sharing it. So, but the 4 square breath is an integral part. It's the very base of this whole practice. And you have to do certain things. Like, for instance, I can tell you these parts, but like, so it's not just the inhale, hold, exhale, hold. I can do that with the count. However, you do things like, for instance, there's a sun breath. So for instance, on the inhale, you think about the rising sun. On the hold, you think about the noonday sun. On the exhale, you think about the sunset. And on that hold, you think about the sun being dark. However, I'm sitting there trying to go, and I realized I naturally breathe like this anyway. However, trying to say inhale, exhale, inhale, or inhale, hold, exhale, hold, and counting it and making it just perfect was driving me nuts. And then when I was doing the hold part, I was like, like when you go to jump into water and you have to swim under something for a little bit of time and you need to have enough breath to get under something and around something. I was doing that kind of for the hold. I was inhaling as much as my lungs could possibly do. And then I was holding like I'm going to burst. Like, it's only 4 counts. And like I said, I do the 4, 7, 8 breaths. So I can hold for almost twice as long and I can exhale for twice as long. So, however, but it was just driving me. I had this in my head. And like I said, that square part didn't fit with what I felt. And then the other part of it was I was doing breathing like there's this thing in yoga called Ujjayi breath. And it's this ocean sound. And so there's a slight constriction on the throat. And it's to heat yourself up when you're doing yoga. It's a nice way to get warm as you're doing the postures or the asanas to get your body ready. So like you don't have to go do hot yoga. So this is you internally heat. And then the other thing, I wasn't just letting it flow. Because I was so up in my head about this, I was breathing from my chest versus letting my belly expand and just going into this. So the good thing for me, because I study stuff and, meditate on stuff, I was working through this. And for you, this stuff might help you go, okay, I see that. When you tell me to hold, I do the same thing. So I was militantly holding it and I was so focused on, okay, the sun's rising, it's setting, and trying to count and trying to make sure, it's the hold. And like I said, I was naturally inhaling, holding it. There's a natural flow of this. But when you use the word square, my mind automatically was like, and wasn't breathing. Breathing should be something that's just natural and easy and not forced. But I was forcing that whole thing. Now, if this wasn't part of a practice that I really am interested in doing, I probably would have ignored it because truth be told, I do a practice when I do journeying for shamanism, I do a breath work that's 7, 7, 7. It's 7 in, 7 hold, 7 exhale, 7 hold. So I do that, and there's times when I've done work where it's 12s. It's higher than 4. And just for some reason that, because it's square, it just did something to my head. So I've always just kind of skipped the 4 square breath. I understand it. I understand how to teach it. However, it wasn't something that I practiced personally because I generally like the breath work for my shamanism practice. I like the alternate nostril breath. I like the breath of fire, which that took me a really long time to like, because at first I didn't like the dizzy feeling that it can bring when you do it. So when things aren't necessary, we can discard them. So for instance, again, if a breath technique or if a meditation technique doesn't call to you, you don't have to do it. This doesn't make you bad. You don't have to do everything everybody wants you to do. Now, however, sometimes we do have to push through things and we have to learn to rise above it and we have to meditate on what the heck is my block here? Because sometimes this is good for a meditation. Sometimes this is good because here's the deal. As I sat and meditated on it, and I actually was verbalizing it to my partner too. Like, okay, here's the things that are going, and I was explaining it and, going, these are the things that, now, so again, it could, things that we have trouble with can be good for meditation. And sometimes the things that we're horrible with, that we take a really long time to get, sometimes those can be the things that we're the best at teaching. For instance, there's stuff like handstand that I'm not great at teaching in yoga because I was a gymnast before I did yoga, and doing a handstand is just like you just kick up in a handstand. And nobody ever taught me how to teach handstand, how to break it down for a non-gymnast. So where other postures and asanas I'm better at because I had to learn it. And sometimes I'm really great at teaching something when the other thing to notice too is that one way of teaching, you might hear instruction on how to do something, and one way of hearing it or seeing it or trying it might not work for you. It could be the way someone's presenting it. I know for me, for instance, I have ADHD and dyslexia. So the gift that both of these things have given me is that I know that sometimes I can learn something by reading it. Sometimes I need to hear it. Sometimes I need to do it. And sometimes I need to just play around and try all different ways. And so this has given me a really good gift. So a lot of times when I struggle with something, I go, goody. Eventually, when I'm getting to the Pollyanna stage where it's like, okay, what's the advantage of this? I can teach this. Now, again, if you're not planning on teaching it, there's some things that we can just discard. And we don't have to say there's something wrong with us. We aren't meant to do every single thing. You can take, like I said, you can take the stuff that you're feeling tragically lost on, and you can make this your meditation. Or if you're having trouble with meditation in the first place, don't do things that frustrate you. You know, this is the thing. When you're traveling, when you're on this journey, and whatever your journey might be, this might be spiritual, this might be self-awareness, this might be, self-improvement, this might be, I don't know, I just stumbled on this channel and who knows. Your journey might be about learning. It might be about curiosity. For me, it is about curiosity. I want to learn things. I want to know. And maybe I'll teach it. Maybe I'll do this, and like I said, I'll do the education part and then decide later. So when you have trouble with something, you can discard it. It's the same with when you study a religion, when you study any type of spirituality, take the pieces that work for you and let the rest go. Like when you read a book, if you're reading a self-help book or an improvement book or a psychology book or a spirituality book, if you get one little thing, you might get, this is not my thing. I am not, naturopath. That's what it was. I don't want to be a naturopath. And learning what you don't want and what you don't like is just as important as learning what you do want and what you do like. So again, don't let any of this get you down. If I present a breathing technique and it doesn't work for you, that's okay. There's plenty that doesn't work for me too. If I present a meditation and it doesn't resonate with you, don't worry. With breath work, easier is better. When you can let that belly expand, when you can relax, better. Meditation, the same thing. Relax. We're going to be doing more stuff on here about mindfulness. I have that series that I started, and just simple stuff. So I hope this finds you doing well. Peace, love, namaste.